Okay, now it is time for chapter 8. This is the chapter everyone's so excited about. I know, right? So chapter 8, we're going to talk about, well, let's just go ahead and share the screen so you can see exactly what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about special occasions, small groups. Yes, group work. I know, working in groups. And then work presentations. So what are some special occasions that you may or may not have to give a speech for? So awards, if you are a member of a group, for those of you that are in the military, you may have to talk at an award ceremony, anything like that. Eulogies, just in case someone doesn't know what a eulogy is, that is basically when someone dies, you talk about them. Introductions, that could be for anything. Again, instead of giving out the awards, maybe you're introducing people. If you are a member of a group, anything like that. A keynote address, toasts, weddings, commencements. Could be inspirational, and it says, etc. So basically anything that has you speaking in a more casual manner in front of a group of people. That is going to be your special occasion speeches. Keep it brief. Again, it is going to be more casual. It's usually more for entertainment or memorial oriented. Obviously, memorial oriented, it could be a keynote address, it could be a eulogy, things like that. When you're going to be doing special occasion speeches, there are things that you want to know. Obviously, you want to know about your audience. Are they the same age? If you are giving a speech at a sorority or a fraternity event, you know something about your audience. What kind of impact do you want it to have? Do you want it, is it going to be serious? Is it going to be fun? What is the impact that you want your speech to have? And what's the point? Again, you kind of talked about that before. If it's an award, well, talking a little bit about the person and why they're getting the award. If it's an introduction, you're talking a little bit about that. The point would be to introduce and help your audience to get to know that person. Know the time limit. I talked about that in chapter 7. Time limits. What kind of time limit do you have? If it is an award ceremony, then every time you go to give out the award, you know that you have a certain amount of time to do that. If you're doing introductions, then you know every person you introduce, you have a set amount of time to spend to introduce them. Be yourself. This really is kind of a big one. If you've been asked to do this, there is most likely a reason for it. Of course, the reason could be nobody else was willing to do it, but no, chances are it's because you're somebody that they want to do this. You're somebody that they want the audience to hear. So be yourself. And then be funny, if you can be. Not everyone is a comedian. If you don't really have a funny bone, don't. And then, of course, it does also say, but appropriate. So just, don't use off-colored funny, don't use off-colored jokes, things like that. Speaking in small groups. I know this is the thing that everybody hates. You guys are lucky because you don't have to do the group speeches. In my 16-week on-ground classes, they actually do have a group speech, but I will say they are fun and most people enjoy them when it's all said and done. But so why is it important to know how to work in these small groups? Right there, the very first thing, necessary for workplace success. There are a lot of jobs out there that could require you to have to work in small groups and to speak in small groups. So what do you need to learn to use to work in these small groups? Well, the first one is obviously teamwork. If you've ever been on a sports team, then you know when you're working as a team, that's exactly what it is. You have to work as a team to be successful. If you can't, then you're not going to win any games. The same goes for giving speeches in your small groups. Problem solving, communication, organization, conflict management. These are all things that you do learn when working in a group. You know, there are going to be problems that arise. It could be anything. It could be a teammate getting sick at the last minute. It could be not being able to find the information you're looking for. All of this. Knowing how to communicate with each other. Knowing that yelling and screaming at your small group members or at your group members probably isn't going to be the best way to get things done, which also deals with conflict management. Because anyone in here, no matter how old you are, if you've ever worked in a group, a team, anything, you know there is going to be conflict. That's just the way it is. We're humans. We're not going to all get along all the time. We're not going to all like each other all the time. Human nature. But so that is one of the important things that you really do learn when you're working in small groups. You learn conflict management. So what to do? First, right there, you need to get to know your group. Who's on your group? Have a conversation. Don't just sit and stare at each other. Actually get to know each other. Ask each other questions. Pretend like you're on a date with everybody, or do something that lets you get to know your group members more than just, oh, their names. Talk about the strengths and weaknesses of your group members. You know, maybe you have a group member who is just phenomenal when it comes to research, and they really would love to, you know, head up some of the research. Let them. Maybe you have a group member who is really super artistic or really tech savvy, you know, is really good at creating presentations, things like that. Let them. You know, everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Work with that. Use that. Create a contact list. And then create a schedule and a timeline of meetings, things like that. You have to know when you can actually work together. Now, clearly, if you all work for the same company, if you're in a business environment, a work environment, chances are your schedule and things like that are going to align a little bit more. For school, that may not be the case. You may have different classes. In the case of this group, you're not even all in the same location. You know, from reading your introductions, some of you are in Clarksville. Some of you are in Ashland City. We have someone who is at Fort Knox in Kentucky. We have someone who is at Fort Carson in Colorado Springs. So clearly, these are things that you need to know. But you also need to know how to get in touch with each other. That's the whole point behind the contact list. I am not going to read every one of these to you. Please do remember, this is chapter 8. So if you go back to the chapter 8 PowerPoints, you can look at this and kind of go over it again. But again, I'm not going to read every one of these to you guys. You're all grown, or at least close to grown. So I'm going to let you read them yourself. And then work presentations, which are very similar, or it says similar to many informative and persuasive speeches, uses the same skills as small group, but on a professional level. It could include sales, research, development, design, expansion, production, evaluation, special committees. So one of my other jobs besides teaching is I'm also a real estate agent. And so special committees. I'm on 3 different committees with the Clarksville Association of Realtors, Helping Hands, RPAC, and professional development. But on these, I have to give presentations for certain things. You know, if I want to come up with a class for professional development, I have to come up with a presentation to give about the benefits of these classes. So again, like I've told you guys, I know I say so again a lot. That's probably one of my little things is so again. But anyway, I just kind of went off on a tangent. I don't do that as much online as I do in person. I do it a lot in person. But anyway, it really is important to understand these things, because at some point in the future, Maybe not in this class, but at some point in the future, whether it is for school, whether it's in a social situation, whether it's in a work situation, you may have to work with some other people. And it is really important that you know how to do this, that you understand conflict management, that you understand that there is going to be conflict, that's part of it. The chances of working in a group of people and there being absolutely no conflict, it's pretty slim. So just make sure you're aware of these things. As with every PowerPoint or every lecture, if you have any questions, please make sure that you let me know so I can answer them and help you to be as successful as possible in class and in the future. I will talk to you guys later.